Bill would allow tech companies to create local governments. Let me repeat that. Bill would allow only tech companies? Why tech? Why only tech companies? That's very specific. To create local governments. What? The laws do not apply here. This is Google land. This is Facebookia. What? This is insane. I've never heard of anything like this before. Wow, wow, wow. Could government get any more corrupt? Just tech companies. Gee, I wonder why that is. Could it be that the tech companies want to be able to completely, totally circumvent the Constitution? Freedom of speech? Well, it's the law here that you have no freedoms of speeches. Oh, my God. We formed our own country. Yeah. Twitterica. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of twits at Twitter, that's for sure. Holy shit. Why just tech companies? Why can't gun manufacturers? Any company that owns land should be able to start their own local government. Right? Wrong. We just want to do it for the tech companies because they're working hand in hand with us to control what information gets to the public, and they're also able to censor people so that the wrong information doesn't get into the hands of the plebs who we control and who are useful tax chattel. So interesting. So interesting. Anyway, before I start this story, I'd like to ask those of you out there that like my content to go check out my website, therealistphilosopher.com. That is therealistphilosopher.com. I suggest you go check that out. Maybe go click on that donate button. I could use some help to keep my work going. You can donate via my Bitcoin wallet address. You can donate via my Patreon, or you can donate to my Patreon, which is a per-piece platform. And you also get some nice extra perks if you donate to my channel, to my content creation. So go check that out, therealistphilosopher.com. That is therealistphilosopher.com. Okay, back to this story that singles out big tech companies. Only big tech companies will be able to benefit from owning land. Oh, man, you own some land and you're a tech company. Ooh, you can start a local government. That is very, very specific, isn't it now? Why? I don't get this. Why just a tech company? Why a big tech company? By the way, I wonder if there's like a market cap, a capital you have to be able to do this. It seems very, very cherry-picked to benefit a very, very few, of course. It's a form of kickback, you. All right, so Carson City. If you've got enough money, acres upon acres of undeveloped land, and an innovative technology, you can soon form a new local government in Nevada. In Nevada? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of unused land out there. Is this their way of trying to get big tech firms to move from California to Nevada? What, you're not making enough off the suckers that come there and bet their money? You're already making billions upon billions of fucking dollars a year in tax revenue from the idiots that come there and gamble in those casinos. Not enough for you? Guess not. I guess not. I remember a story a while back about how Nevada was taking it easy on homeless people, becoming more libtarded. And the more libtarded they become, the more money they need. I guess they need cashola to fund their social welfare programs in Nevada. Nevada's going libtard, yo. We need more cashola. This is one good way to incentivize big companies to come here. Big companies, yeah. Only tech firms. Only big tech firms. That is the new public square. So interesting. When Governor Steve Sisolak, this is, by the way, probably the future of America, last month announced his plan to launch innovation zones in Nevada to jumpstart the state's economy by attracting new tech companies. The details of how these zones would operate proved scarce. Is this going to be America's future, a technocracy, where all the local governments are run by big corporations? Oh, man, that's a good thing. We're privatizing government. Isn't that what you capitalists want? No. Not like this. No. Definitely not. I don't want big corporations having control of local government. Are you kidding me? Everything they do would be self-serving. Wouldn't be for me, the local citizen. According to a draft of the proposed legislation obtained by the Review Journal, but not yet introduced in the legislature, innovation zones would allow tech companies like Blockchains LLC to effectively form separate local governments in Nevada, governments that would carry the same authority as a county, including the ability to impose taxes. Well, you know, we've got the responsibility of governing this area, so we should get tax money as well. Form school districts and justice courts and provide government services, to name a few duties. Let me get this straight. You're going to hand over local government to big tech corporations. Why not just any corporation? Why specifically tech corporations? Because the tech companies are in bed with the government. That's why. That's why. They're already in bed with the government, you. They're a mutually parasitic relationship, which isn't really parasitic, I suppose. Yeah. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. A lot of back scratching going on here both ways. Sisalik pitched the concept in his State of the State address as his plan to bring in new companies that are at the forefront of groundbreaking technologies. So you're going to offer them the run of the state, at least at the local level? Really? Well, wouldn't they be unelected officials then? I'm confused here that this is totally, completely unelected. So they're unelected officials who are in bed with the government, and then the government just tells them what to do and they do it. Totally circumventing democratic elections. Oh, that's great! All without the use of tax abatements or other publicly funded incentive packages. Oh, yeah, you're just offering them a tax revenue and the run of the land and the ability to pass laws and run it like their own little fiefdom. And they're totally, completely unelected. Oh, that's brilliant, Nevada. If they can get this throughout the entire country, where big companies are running all the local government, you know, they don't have to worry about getting anybody elected on the local level. They just tell them what to do, and the big company does it. And in return, the government continues to give them favors. Yeah. All without the use of tax abatements. Yeah. I would prefer that you gave them tax abatements, okay? I would much prefer that. Or other publicly funded incentive packages that had previously helped Nevada bring companies like Tesla to the state. You want to give big tech companies, why just big tech? You want to give big tech fucking companies their own governments? Again, how is this democratic? Am I going to be voting for these people? So Tesla comes there. Microsoft comes there. Bill Gates would be mayor. Oh, sets up his own little fiefdom, buys up enough land. He could buy up so much land, he could have a bigger footprint than Las Vegas. So now he's got his own city. He's the mayor. He's the boss. Totally unelected. He just gets to choose by edict. I think this should be the tax rate. I think the school should be run this way. And he's a libtard, of course. So, you know, he have a totally libtarded curriculum that's female-centric, by the way, to turn the boys into second-class girls. Oh, what a great plan. Yeah, during his speech last month, Sisalik specifically named Blockchains LLC as a company that had committed to developing a smart city in the area east of Reno that would run entirely on blockchain technology once the legislation passes. The draft, which could change before it's unveiled as a formal bill, provides the first look into the details behind the concept. This is a really bad concept for you and me, by the way. I mean, can you imagine big corporations, big companies are able to pass their own laws, create their own local governments on the land they own? Yeah, it'll encourage them to buy a lot more land. Oh, and maybe even build housing on it so they can then, you know, charge property taxes. Oh, this is a new source of revenue. Let's buy up as much land as possible and start our own city, our own county. And then the people that live in it are beholden to us. The draft language of the proposal says that the traditional local government model is inadequate alone to provide the flexibility and resources conducive to making the state a leader in attracting and retaining new forms and types of business and fostering economic development in emerging technologies and innovative industries. Wait a second. Wouldn't these local municipalities, if they have their own governments and their ability to form a local government and be a county, be a city, wouldn't they also be entitled to federal tax dollars? You do know that the states and the local municipalities get money from the federal government every year for the upkeep of highways and other federal assets in those states, as well as for local infrastructure. So that's just... Oh, so in addition to being able to collect tax dollars locally, they'll get federal cheddar. Oh my God. Oh, and they're a big, huge corporation making big, big money. Oh, wow. Wow. This is, wow. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. Maybe a good idea for them, but certainly not for us, okay? We wouldn't have any voting capability. Oh, geez, Louise, would we? It adds that this alternative form of local government is needed to aid economic development within the state. Is it, though? The Governor's Office of Economic Development would handle the applications for the innovation zones. Those zones would be limited to specific innovative technology. Why? Which includes blockchain, autonomous technology, the internet. Oh, the internet, of course. Robotics, artificial intelligence. You mean the kind of artificial intelligence that goes through people's posts and, automatically shadow bans them if they say the wrong thing? Wireless technology, biometrics, yeah, and renewable resource technology. Renewable resource. You mean green energy? This is just a further push toward fascism, socialism. Empower the corporations more, but who controls the corporations? The government. A spokeswoman for Sisolik's office said in a statement Wednesday, it couldn't be a spokesman, of course, that the governor looks forward to rolling out more information on innovation zones and other items from his State of the State speech in the future. The governor's office has not submitted a bill draft request related to this initiative, so we will not be commenting on any language at this time. Of course not. The statement said, you're going to wait until there's some kind of big major distraction in the country before you try to push this through your legislature. GOED did not respond to questions about the zones on Wednesday. This is the future of the country. This is how it's going to go. So what's going to be happening is big corporations, big companies, but only the ones that the government chooses to give this kind of privilege to will buy up huge swaths of land in America, take them over, form their own local governments that are then beholden to the federal government. And through these corporations, the government, the big daddy federal government, will rule the country. Lovely. Fascism at its best. Yeah, but I thought Antifa were anti-fascists. The zones would initially operate. Why aren't they going after the federal government, the Democrats? Why aren't they going after this bill? Because they're too stupid to understand that they're the real fascists. The zones would initially operate within the local county. Oh, initially. Meaning there's probably some kind of intention to expand this beyond just county governance. Gee, I wonder if there's going to be a state of Google. Will California become Googlefornia? It might. Within the local county where they are located, but it would eventually be able to take over the duties of those counties themselves and become an independent governmental body. I don't see anything in there about elections. This is your future, America. Big corporations are going to be telling you what to do, right down to what laws you have to follow. Wow, yeah. I can't foresee that going wrong at all. The zones would have a 3-member board of supervisors elected crickets where they are located, but would eventually be able to take over the duties of those counties and become an independent governmental body. They'd have a 3-member board of supervisors that would carry the same powers as a board of county commissioners. Elected? And the company or firm applying for the zone would have significant say over who would sit on that board. There you go. The apparent economic benefit, the apparent economic benefit, which I think is far outweighed by the authoritarian power that these corporations would have, besides the potential to lure more tech businesses to the state, would be an industry-specific tax that will be imposed upon the innovative technology or activity related to the innovative technology within the zone. But these companies have the power to pass whatever taxes they want within their county, within their little fiefdom. Wouldn't they just pass off that tax to the taxpayer? Wouldn't they just pass the cost on to the consumer, in this case the taxpayer, who's living in that county that they now own and decide the rules for? Yeah. You don't want to live in one of these zones. Your taxes are going to go way up to pay for this industry-specific tax. Oh, lovely. So interesting. The draft proposal lays out the requirements for the zone, including the applicant owning at least 50,000 acres of undeveloped land. It's bigger than some cities. All within a single county, but separate of any city, town, or tax increment area. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to dip into the tax revenues of an already established city. Can't have that. And the area would have to be uninhabited. The company would also need to have $250 million and a plan to invest an additional $1 billion over 10 years into the zone. It's a good investment. They get to decide what the rules are within that zone. They can make big money, yo. The zone would be required to report to the legislature during the biannual session to detail its capital investments, physical progress. This seems like government having a little too much of a hand in the ways and means of production. Boy, isn't that the definition of socialism? Physical progress on developing infrastructure, an estimate of the number of people employed in the zone, and the economic impact from the zone itself. And I guarantee you that a lot of the people working at these companies will be encouraged to live in the zone. They'll be given healthy tax breaks and then company property, which they will live on. Yet another move to further push people toward owning ever less. In 2018, Blockchains LLC, the tech firm owned by lawyer and cryptocurrency millionaire Jeffrey Burns, purchased roughly 67,000 acres, about the same size as the city of Henderson, of undeveloped, uninhabited land in Story County at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center for $170 million. Wow, what a deal. Since then, the firm has given heavily to political candidates and PACs. Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. Creating closer corrupt ties with local and federal governments, hence the PACs. Yeah. And he very soon is going to be running his own little city, his own little fiefdom. Blockchains LLC gave $50,000 to a Home Means Nevada PAC, which managed Sisolik's transition into office. Imagine that. Yeah, and now Sisolik is lobbying to give city, county status to this Jeffrey Burns dude that owns Blockchains LLC after he, meaning Jeffrey Burns, donated to Sisolik campaign. Wow. Yeah. No, nothing wrong with that. Nothing corrupt about that. Nothing suspicious there. Yeah, okay. So, Blockchains LLC did not respond to requests for comments. Of course not. So the jury's still out. Yeah. Okay. I think that's enough. I've read enough. There's more, but... So, this is socialism. This is fascism, which is just a different type of socialism. So in a socialist state, the government, in a pure socialist state, the purest form of a socialist state, you could say, the government directly controls the ways and means of productions. In a fascist state, the government controls the ways and means of productions through the owners of those companies themselves. So instead of being like Hugo Chavez walking around Venezuela and saying, expropriate, expropriate, and then giving the ownership of those companies to his cronies who don't know a goddamn thing about running that company, so it goes under. Of course, the price fixing and the price controls don't help. Instead of that, you leave the person in charge, but they answer to you. So to a certain extent, you still tell them what to do in terms of, you know, what they can and cannot produce. You still have a certain amount of control over the company, but you leave the person in charge who is best at doing the job. That's how the Nazis did it. That's fascism. So there's one degree of separation, but it's really just for show, and the government's still running. It's still controlling the ways and means of production, but it's leaving the person who can best produce those goods and services in that position instead of what happens in a purely socialistic state where the government takes over the ways and means of production and then hands over said production to their cronies who are usually idiots. Sounds great. But it really isn't, okay? Yeah, it's still socialism, and it still leads to tyranny and authoritarian rule. So, I'm not too wild about that. So there you go. That's the model for the future, yo. All local government is probably going to go all the way up to the state level eventually. I bet that's the plan. Will be run by corporations who are answerable just to the big mama federal government, but they're allowed to set their own laws and their own rules on a local level. And I'm sure they'll have very wide latitude. Will there be democratic elections in these zones, these counties, these corporation-owned cities, and what is probably going to become corporation-owned states? Probably not. Doesn't look like there's going to be any democratic elections in the state of Blockchains LLC, which is probably the first of many corporation-owned counties and cities. Anyhow, let me know what you think in the comments section. Is this a good idea? No. Let me know what you think. And please like and subscribe to my BitChute channel if you haven't already. BitChute.com/The Realist Philosopher. That's BitChute.com/The Realist Philosopher. And if you really like what I do, consider going to my website, TheRealistPhilosopher.com, and making a donation. I could really use your help.